from all the beaches. My gosh, I wish I could live the life of some of these folks in here. Well, thank you all for being here. As you know, we've been involved in a lot of litigation that is against social media companies. We've identified that a number of social media companies engage in conduct that targets our most vulnerable, kids. I see this in my own house as I have to make decisions about social media. As you know, I have 3 kids under 17. One of them 6, who is very familiar with all the different shows and apps and things, and so we have to manage that. And one of the names I hear a lot is Kids YouTube. And it came to my attention some time ago that it's not just a place to watch movies or whatever. There are a lot of short, attention-grabbing videos on there, and I've seen and had to manage that impact in my own home, as so many parents do. And as we dug into this, we determined that we needed to file suit against Google, YouTube, and their parent companies. And so I'm announcing today that we've done that. A little bit ago, we filed a lawsuit in Phillips County against Alphabet and XXVI Holdings, which are basically the parent companies of Google and YouTube. And we are suing them for violating our state's Deceptive Trade Practices Act, the ADTPA. YouTube makes a lot of money off Arkansans, particularly young Arkansans, minor Arkansans, and it's because, in large part, they have intentionally designed their product to be addictive. And when we talk about addiction, we're not talking about it in the loose way that you may say, that food is so good, I'm addicted to it, I got to keep going back. That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about it's just so good you want to have another burger. It is something more sinister than that. It is actually a targeting of minors in the way their brains work, in the way data and information is offered up in the app, so as to get a young person addicted in a clinical way, not in a colloquial way. And this is by design. And they are not the only ones, but I believe that Google and YouTube and Kids YouTube have contributed to many of the problems that we're seeing in our society with our young people as it relates to mental health. There was a report in 2022 by Common Sense Media that estimates that 3/4 of teens report using YouTube every single day. And this is the sort of videos that are being pushed to young people, sometimes relate to weight and appearance, and in the eyes of young people, they may consider it relevant to their self-worth. Also, there's some insidious content that is simply inappropriate for young people. And so this is the beginning with regard to these companies. And as I mentioned earlier, we already have litigation against other companies on similar issues. We have a number of asks in this suit, certainly monetary damages, but also we've asked for particular behavior, for particular action by these companies as it relates to future activities, so that they would not be in violation, for example, of the ADTPA, which is the Arkansas Deceptive Trade Practices Act. We've also asked that they fund social media prevention education program. So there'll be a lot more to talk about as this litigation proceeds, but this is a significant piece of litigation, and I will tell you that I have acted alone in many of our cases, not all of our cases, but in many of our cases, because when I first became Attorney General, I was frustrated at the lack of progress and the pace that is sometimes a result of numerous states making decisions by committee. It's very frustrating because they tend, not always, but they tend to move very, very slowly. And you could have situations where an investigation goes on and on and on long after AGs have come and gone. And it's not because there's been so much to investigate, it's because when you govern by committee, it's just not very efficient. And so this is another one of those examples where I felt like we needed to act and act quickly. I have found very few groups and committees that can act as quickly and decisively as I can on my own. And that's a big part of why we've acted in this particular case. Happy to take any questions. Yes. We make a lot of decisions in our litigation, where to file and why to file in a particular place. If you've followed our TikTok case, our Meta, we've got cases filed all over the state. We have individual reasons for those, and it would not be smart in litigation to tell you all of our great ideas. And so I'm not going to do that. But just know that we do everything with intentionality. We don't pick out of a hat for the next county. We've got reasons that we do it, and I'll just leave it at that. Yes.
What's the status of the other cases that you filed dealing with other social media?
Yep.
And just make sure I understand, are there any other states that have filed similar litigation against Google and YouTube?
There are suits against Google and YouTube. Is there a state that has alleged exactly what we have? I don't think so. I think we're the first in that regard. With regard to, so we have several suits, two suits against TikTok and one against Meta. And those, we have been very successful in the early stages in all three of those. So it is not unusual, and we expect it when you file these sorts of suits against massive companies, international companies. They bring a team of lawyers who are making thousands of dollars an hour, many of them, and they do everything they can, first and foremost, to get rid of the lawsuit. We've been in that phase, and we have been incredibly successful. I think we have a perfect record with regard to those. So what they traditionally do is they're going to file motions to dismiss. They're going to say, you don't have jurisdiction. We haven't done any business here. We know in this case they have. In the other cases, TikTok, for example, we know they have. And so we've won those motions. We've won. And then they'll often, or before that even, they'll say, well, we're going to remove it to federal court. We've won on those as well. So, look, we've got rock star lawyers here, and I'm proud of their work. And we have a perfect record so far in the early stages of litigation with regard to TikTok and Meta. And as you know, Meta is Instagram, Facebook. And look, they're going to pull out everything they can, and I believe we will continue to win. And at some point, once they feel like those options have been exhausted and we beat them or continue to beat them, then that's when they look around and say, we better start talking about a settlement. And so we're looking forward to that. They've got our number, and we expect some phone calls soon because we've beaten them. I think the same thing will happen in this case. They're going to make all kinds of arguments. I feel confident, based on the legal arguments, that we will win. And but there are, to your broader point, Andrew, there are a lot of analogs in the way this litigation generally unfolds, and the way I think it will unfold here.
Is the ultimate goal with this to get them to have some kind of further restrictions on how you can access Google or you can access YouTube? Because YouTube already has some restrictions.
Yeah, the goal is to change behavior. Let me say a couple of things. So if you look at the pleading, there are several goals. There's monetary for past damages. There's money for this fund that I mentioned. There's a change of behavior, which when you get down to settlement, what you want them to do becomes part of the conversation. Let's not confuse, because I am aware of a lot of these tools, capabilities with regard to young viewers. I've found the best way to intervene is personally intervene with my kids. But let's not confuse that with algorithms intentionally designed to push particular content to a particular audience without disclosure. There's no disclosure when you go to YouTube or YouTube Kids that says, hey, we just want you to know we've designed these algorithms to suck you in and to get you as many dopamine hits as we can so that you never quit looking at this iPad. That's not there. That's a different thing from what you're talking about. They're not completely unrelated, but they're not exactly the same either. And the other thing I would say is a lot of the pressure put on some of these companies that's resulted in some of these announcements is directly related to the pressure put on them by litigation, by lawsuits like this. They didn't do it because they, from the start, just wanted all these tools to protect people. They did it because they're in court. And a lot of the problems are becoming more and more real in the medical data. They're having former workers say things publicly about what went on. I mean, there's a lot of pressure. And this is another way to bring pressure so that we get a change in behavior. Again, this is the first tranche. And I would say to folks that are here from the press, if you're interested in doing some reporting on the existing litigation so that we can get you up to speed, it's a lot. I get it. There's a lot of back and forth. You know, these lawsuits are filed. There's this initial hit, and then we all move on to other stories. But that litigation continues, and it's often complicated. And so I would just volunteer that we would be happy to sit down with the press and walk you through what we've already got going on, the successes I mentioned with regard to the TikTok case, whether it be the Cleburne County, whether it be in Union County, or whether it be the Meta case, which is at Logan, Polk, in Polk County. So we've got litigation spread around, and I'm happy to sit down and talk to you and walk you through that, because I think the glide path, or the path of the litigation with regard to TikTok, Meta, and some of these others, and we're not done, is going to give you insight. Once you understand the flow of that, the back and forth, I think you'll better understand what this is going to look like as well. I got time for one more. Yeah.
You might have answered this when Andrew asked this question, so if I missed it, I'm sorry. But where are we at with the legislation you'll ask Congress to pass regarding the warning label? Is there a bill? Are they working on it?
I led a letter on that. How many signatures?
It's like 41.
Yeah, we had a lot. 42. We got one more after that number. So we have 42 signatories on that. And you know what we're basically saying is, look, at a minimum, you got to tell people, you got to tell parents what they're dealing with, you know. And I mean, that's just a fundamental point, because so many parents don't know. I don't know. They don't know until later, when news stories start coming out in the press about a new study, or a former employee says this was going on, and we learned in dribs and drabs, and not everybody gets that information. So, look, I think being upfront with parents and the American people on what you're doing and why you're doing it, I'm not saying that won't solve everything that's in this litigation, but that is an important part, because parents can't manage and regulate what they don't know anything about. And at some level, it's deception. So anyway, thank y'all so much. Appreciate your time, and stay tuned. We'll have